Welcome to Oops, I'm Evolving. I'm Morgan, and this is the podcast where we take those big, mind-blowing spiritual concepts and break them down into the real life shit you can actually use. Because let's be honest, real growth doesn't happen in the highlight reel. It happens in the shadows, in the messy, uncomfortable WTF moments. So let's talk about it, air it all out, and level up. There are so many misconceptions and there are so many hidden truths when we're talking about what healing actually is and like how to actually get there and really truly what it all means. Today's episode, you don't want peace, you just want control. And yeah, sorry, this one's gonna sting. So just hang on, because I'm sure that your very first reaction was like, no, I don't. No, that's not what I want. But sorry, you probably do. And this is coming from a control freak herself, okay? I've talked about it multiple times in this episode, how I have struggled with control and releasing control and what that looks like and what that feels like and even how to fucking do it. So this is what I've learned along the way. And I just want to say, I'm not out of the woods. I'm not like beyond this. This is still something that shows up in my life on a regular occurrence. It's something that I'm still working through. And honestly, it's probably something that will always come up in my life, because when we heal, it doesn't mean that we no longer experience those things, right? Like when we go through these things of breaking these patterns and these cycles and whatever, it doesn't mean that we no longer experience them. It just means that they no longer have the fucking vice grip hold on us that they used to. This episode is all about the subconscious ways that we say we want flow, we want rest, we want ease, love, and aligned living, and we want it easy, right? But the second that it starts to show up, we self-sabotage the fucking hell out of it. And why? It's because the control feels safer than peace. And for a lot of us, peace is completely unfamiliar. So let's talk about it. Control can look and feel a lot like healing, but it's just not. So let's start with this. Most people walking around don't realize that their nervous system is addicted to chaos. So when we say things like, I want peace, or I want my life to flow, I'm so ready to receive, but when peace does start showing up, most of us panic, or you poke at it, you overthink it, you start controlling the shit out of it again. And it's because we don't actually trust peace. We've never experienced it. We don't know what it is. Our nervous systems feel completely dysregulated when we feel peace. We have trained our nervous system to believe that chaos is normal, that stress is the price you pay for being productive or for being helpful or for being valuable. Because remember, chaos, it doesn't necessarily mean that your youth or your childhood or your life up until now has been traumatic. Mine was, but it doesn't mean that everyone's was traumatic. It doesn't mean like chaos in a negative way, but chaos can show up in stress. Chaos can show up in overdoing, over-providing, attaching our worth to what we can give people. All of these things can send our nervous system into overdrive. So we train ourselves that that's actually where we feel most comfortable. That's where we feel most valuable. That's where we feel most productive. What does it lead to? Burnout. Yep, you're right. So when peace starts to settle in your brain goes, this feels off. This is boring. This is weird. This is suspicious. What's the catch? There must be a catch. And then you start the spiral. You maybe start by picking fights in a relationship. Maybe you feel peace in your finances for the first time ever, but you obsessively refresh your bank amount. Maybe you're manifesting after you feel this one moment of peace. Maybe you manifest bills into your life so that your finances can become way more chaotic. Because what happens when our nervous system doesn't feel safe and we start spiraling and going out of control, we start manifesting the chaos back into our life. We all know that I'm pretty woo-woo, but even if you're not woo-woo, your body starts responding in a negative way. When you sit in your body in a moment of peace, in a moment of calm, you can't handle it. How many of us can't handle being still? We do all of this stuff to cope because we can't be in our bodies. If you are feeling like your maybe relationship finally gets peace and calm and beautiful, and then you start to spin out and you pick a fight. Well, first of all, yeah, that's a cycle we should address. But second of all, it's another way for you to continue the chaos. So this can show up in relationships and work and money, everywhere. It's not super specific as to where it can show up, but it shows up nonetheless. Maybe you're micromanaging your week down to the very second. Maybe you're quote unquote accidentally overbooking yourself. But really what you're doing is you're keeping yourself in chaos. Maybe you're running the same scenario over and over and over in your head, and you're trying to find a fake sense of control. Maybe you're trying to understand it. Maybe you're trying to figure out how to make it work for you, whatever it may be. All of it is a fake sense of control, because really we know that we don't have control over things, right? When we talk about it, it's yeah, it's a pretty easy thing to understand. And most people understand that we can't control what happens in our lives, but we still do. We find ourselves falling victim to that pattern. And the kicker is that control does mask itself as healing, because you might be thinking I'm just staying on top of things. I just want to make sure I don't forget anything. I'm working on being more consistent in my life. I'm setting better routines. I'm setting better boundaries, whatever it may be. But when you feel that tight grip and grasp on things, it's truly just another way of control. Really, you're in a trauma loop. You're in that cycle. You're trying to outrun that stillness that I was talking about, because stillness is where our feelings live. And we have spent the majority of our lives not being still. I gotta say, I had a really hard weekend. I had some things that were really emotional. I'm sitting in that energy today, and I find myself not being able to be still. I told myself, you know what, Morgan, you're just skip this week's episode. You're not in the right mind frame to be there and really to be able to provide things of value. So just skip this episode. But when I was laying down trying to give myself the time I needed, I got jumpy out of my skin. Could not do it because I couldn't sit with my feelings. So I'm telling you, Morgan's still very much in the thick of it. Still very much here, still going through these things. But me getting up to do this episode was truly a way for me to control the situation. And guess what I did? I masked it as Morgan, are you self-sabotaging? Because, doing this one thing for yourself will make your life better tomorrow, easier tomorrow. You can do it. You have the time. You're just laying here feeling sorry for yourself. Let's just do this. Totally masked it as that. That's what I told myself. Really, truly, in all actuality, it's Morgan not wanting to feel her feelings. And how often do we do that? We do that consistently because we don't want to feel them. We have spent our life not wanting to feel them. And actually, I know that there is a percentage out there of people who really actually do enjoy feeling their feelings. And to you, I say, bravo. Bravo. I want to give you a round of applause. Yay, yay, yay. The thing is with you is that you can sit and grovel in your feelings for a little too long. Well, no, actually feeling your feelings isn't a problem. It's sitting in your feeling. It's ruminating in your feelings. And isn't that funny that it's like two sides of one coin. It is the same thing, just dressed up a little bit differently. Either we're avoiding our feelings or we're allowing our feelings to consume and direct us. And neither are correct. And in your human design, you'll see either you can have an undefined emotional center or you have a defined emotional center. And those things will tell us a lot about you and the way that you're meant to experience your feelings. But I want to say neither of those things are we meant to let our feelings consume us. We are meant to express them. We are meant to feel them. We are meant to release them. And then we are meant to move forward. So anyways, that's just a little tangent. So where in the world does this conditioning to not feel our feelings start? Well, I just want to tell you that it's not really your fault. It's not your fault that you've been taught that you shouldn't feel your feelings, or maybe you do deeply feel your feelings, but you don't validate them. But it is your responsibility to heal it. And that's what we're doing, right? We are evolving. So often control starts in our childhood. Maybe you were the good girl, the helper, the peacekeeper. Maybe you were the one that stayed out of the way. Maybe there was a lot of instability at home, either emotionally, financially, or otherwise. And maybe you learned early on that your only sense of safety came from anticipating everyone else's moods and needs. I know in my house, I really got hyper aware, hypersensitive. And actually, I know most of my friends, regardless of how unbelievably amazing their parents are, it seems like we all develop this way of being hyper aware to everyone else's moods and needs. So when that happens, you latch on to the only thing you can, which is this sense of control. It becomes your drug. It becomes your coping mechanism. You've learned how to survive because you learned how to be self-aware. And I don't mean like you would have necessarily died because you weren't anticipating somebody else's needs, but it was your way of maybe felt like you were being seen, felt like you were being loved, felt like you were being valued, whatever it may be. You learned that as a way to get what you needed out of your childhood experience. You were praised for maybe being mature for your age, or you were told that you're just so responsible. You were always the kiddo that was always holding it together. And as an adult, you can't stop doing that. Even if your life is technically more stable now, even if you're in a marriage and have kids and have a great job and, technically your life is a lot more stable now, maybe, than your childhood. You still don't know how to stop because the second you do, your body starts sending panic signals like you're in danger. You're not, but your body doesn't know that. So it keeps you addicted to this control, this way of thinking that this is the thing that you have to hang on to, and this is the only way to stay safe. So this control is sneaky, and it sneaks in your everyday life. You obsessively plan every hour of your day, even your downtime. You might literally schedule your peace and then stress out when you're not relaxing properly. I know I do that. I will, in my mind, plan out my entire day. I might not have it down to the minutes, but I will say, like, I'm going to do this. And then if something throws off that idea for the day, I really struggle. And even if I say, I'm just going to rest today, I'm really tired, I will stress out that maybe I'm not meditating while I'm resting, or I'm resting for too long, or, oh shit, I actually shouldn't be resting because I should be folding that mountain of laundry that I'm looking at.
whatever it may be, it gets really kind of crazy sometimes in my brain. Maybe you rehearse conversations in your head 20 times before you even say a word. I used to do this so often, like even in the shower, I would have conversations with myself about what I was going to say. And sometimes it just left me feeling even more frustrated because they wouldn't respond the way that I had planned for them to respond. And it was like, okay, well, now what? Now my whole conversation that I mapped out is over, right? Maybe you keep pushing away love or support because if someone else takes the wheel, you panic. You can't handle that. What happens if they mess it up? What happens if they do it wrong? What happens if I lose everything because I can't give up this control long enough to let somebody that I know and love and trust help me through this? This can look like you not relying on your partner for anything because you deep down think that they're not going to do it right. So you're just like, nope, I'm going to do it because I know then that it'll get done because I can't rely on anyone else to help me do anything. Maybe you clean or you get productive every time emotions come up. I know this is a big one for me. Anytime, like I told you this weekend, when I just can't handle what's going on in my body, I like immediately start cleaning. I start unloading and loading the dishwasher. I start sweeping the floors. I start wiping down the counters. I start doing anything I can do to get myself to calm down because I'm too triggered. I'm too overwhelmed. So now I just have to reorganize everything. Maybe you get restless when things are going really well. Like you're just like waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're wondering what's going to come up. You are just like waiting for it. And for me, it doesn't feel like it's like a subconscious thing, right? Like I'm just kind of waiting for something to happen, but I don't necessarily in the forefront of my mind understand that that's what I'm doing, but I can feel that energy when I tune into it, when I pay attention to it. Control doesn't just look like bossing people around or openly being a control freak. It's much deeper than that. It's emotional micromanaging. It's trying to control how people see you, how your future unfolds, how your pain gets resolved, preferably quickly, right? Without too much discomfort. That's how I want my pain to get resolved. But listen, I get you. I'm not here to shame you. I'm just here to say that I see you and I'm here with you. I'm right here with you amongst the chaos. And I want to just say that all of this stems from just being scared. Like it's just this fear. That's all this is fear. And once we can shine a light on that, at least maybe we can open our eyes to the different ways that we're controlling. I don't remember if I shared it on this podcast. I think I did when I got a huge download in the shower about how me withholding, me not feeling my emotions was this way to control. And when I started journaling and started getting my thoughts together for this episode, I really started exploring all of the ways in which I control. And I know I just listed a few here, but like, I just want to say there's a lot more. There's a lot more. And I even thought that I was getting better at it. And it's just funny when you start paying attention. I'm honoring myself because the thing that came up for me this weekend was a giant trigger, and it was a giant trigger to my childhood and the things that I experienced as a kid. And of course, it was fear. Like, of course. So even if you feel like maybe your control doesn't show up in the same ways that I talked about, maybe you feel like your control shows up in either bigger ways or even much sneakier ways, however it shows up for you, the goal is just to shine a light that it is something that is going on, because once you recognize it, then it holds a lot less power, and recognizing it is literally 3/4 of healing. So this is where it gets tricky, is because most people say that they want peace, but they have no idea what peace actually feels like in the body, because peace is not perfect. It's not this like aesthetic vibe that we've kind of like been shown. It's not like, oh, like a beautiful scene where it's just like serenity. Oftentimes when we're learning how to feel it can feel really awkward. It can feel quiet, maybe boring. It can feel like nothing is happening. But your nervous system has to detox from the chaos. Like you have to figure out how to get your nervous system to calm down from living in chaos for maybe the last 20, 30, 40 years. It's realizing that just because nothing's wrong doesn't mean that something bad is coming. That's a huge one. You're not waiting for the other shoe to drop. Peace in your body can feel like totally being okay with that unanswered text. Maybe letting yourself sleep or letting yourself rest without guilt. Peace can also be not knowing the plan and just deciding that you're still safe. It can feel like grief without the immediate need to fix it. Maybe you're actually sitting in your feelings for the first time and you're not feeling that immediate need to escape or fix. And here's a big one: allowing joy without scanning or waiting for something bad to come along. This one is huge for me. Really allowing that joy to come. I know I struggle sometimes with feeling joy because I can be secretly like waiting for the bad to come along to like slap me in the face and be like, why did you even feel high? Like, why did you feel that joy? Because that bad is coming. Peace isn't like this performative, like, beautiful breathing thing. It just is. And I think that's what a lot of us have never experienced before, is truly just being. And that's why it's hard to trust when control has been your coping mechanism, because peace just is. So you're probably wondering like, okay, yep, totally feel this, Morgan. So how do I actually shift this? First, we have to learn to let peace be awkward. You're not going to love it immediately. You're not going to trust it overnight, but you can learn to tolerate peace. And eventually, you're actually going to begin to crave it. You'll start actually protecting it. Holy shit, what would that be like? You'll stop settling for the chaos. So step number one that you can do to start to embrace the peace is you can journal or voice note to yourself where you still choosing control over peace and what are you afraid will happen if you let go. Start small. Let somebody else plan something. Let the dishes sit. Let a text go unanswered. These little shifts will teach your nervous system that nothing bad happens when you don't control everything. Things like nervous system work are going to be really important to you. You can do like EFT tapping. You can do some somatic work. You can do breath work. You could do cold plunges. Any of that nervous system will help you build tolerance for stillness and uncertainty. All of those things are kind of like a refresh. The first time I ever did breath work, I fucking hated it because I felt so out of control in my body. The first time I ever did it was so insane. And I was like, I don't think I'll ever do it again because I felt all this tingling throughout my body. I completely felt out of control. It truly upset me. I think I put it down and I never tried it again for like a year. I fucking hated it. The second time I did it, it was much better. So if you feel that, just know that that is you butting up against your control issues. I didn't know that that's what it was for me at the time. But if you feel it, that's what it is. And it's okay. Let's see it. Let's recognize it. Let's love it. Let's make space for it. But don't let it stop you from creating a practice that actually does serve you just because it's uncomfy in the meantime. And then the final tip that I'll give you is start to interrupt your patterns when you feel the urge to fix, to plan, or to obsess. Maybe ask yourself, like, what am I afraid will happen right now if I don't take control? You don't have to burn your life down. You just got to interrupt that loop. So I want to close this episode with telling you that you are safe when you're not in control. You are safe to rest. You are safe to not know. You are safe to let people help you. You are safe to be still. There's a version of you that only exists after control. She's not frantic. She's not micromanaging. She's not waiting for something to go wrong. She's just at peace. But you can't meet her if you keep clinging to the control. So yeah, maybe you don't want peace right now. Maybe your nervous system still wants control. That's okay. But you can choose differently, even when it's messy, even when it's slow, even when it's inconsistent. Because when you can stop needing to control everything, you get to start experiencing it.
All right, that's it for today's episode of Oops, I'm Evolving. Thanks for hanging out and diving into the messy, real shit with me. If you're loving the vibe, make sure to follow the podcast, leave a review, and find me on socials to keep the conversation going. Remember, growth isn't always pretty, but damn, it's worth it. Catch you next time.